Hey, everybody. It is December, if you could believe it. Like, we blew past Thanksgiving, and we're what now, 12 days until the big day? We're in the middle of
Yeah.
Hanukkah, and we're about to beat to
Happy
the big day.
Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah. I know we've taken a little bit of a break for the holiday. Excited to be back with you. We've got so much to talk about. But welcome to Two Average Days, episode 9. I think we could probably squeak one more in before the end of the year. I don't want to call this the last one of this year. I think we can probably get one more in,
Yeah, I
because
think a good even numbered, 10
yeah,
is a good
yeah,
even
there you go.
number.
We got to hit 10, and then that way
Yeah.
we can build on that for next year for sure.
Hey, and don't
Um,
forget, like and subscribe as well.
Yes.
That helps
Yeah, if
us.
anyone's thinking of a last minute holiday gift for us, so like and subscribe would be that would be wonderful. Uh, we're excited about our topic today. We're trying to narrow it down to a lot of things that we want to talk about, and this one I think is perfect for this time of year. And so, Javi, why don't you tell them about what we're going to talk about today, and then I've got a question for you to get us into it.
Yeah. So, it's kind of goes along with the theme of the season, right? When I think about Thanksgiving, when I think about Christmas holiday, for a lot of people, it's a great heartwarming time. And it's a time where you kind of reflect on the things you're grateful for. And the topic today is gratitude in leadership and what gratitude can do for a leader and for the team that they serve. And so there are some essential things that happen within a leader when they live in a space of gratitude all the time. And honestly, it's an essential part of emotional intelligence, and we'll get into that a little bit and what it means to do it and how do you do it. And so yeah, that's kind of the topic that we're going to get into, and I think it's like I said, essential to the leadership role and in what we do.
Gratitude sets your attitude.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, and actually, it's perfect timing because I just had this epiphany the other day. We're all fortunate to have Javier here with his education in psychology, so he can analyze me and break this down. So let me tell you why I think this starts because I'm driving down the road. We just got this big job. It's our first big job. And so, part of that is I have to do a bid. I have to give him an estimate of how much it's going to be. And I try to anticipate things and anticipate everything. And we are probably on like day 4 or 5 of this job. And all these things just start coming up that I didn't anticipate. Well, we're gonna have to pay for this and pay for that and pay for this. And so I'm just watching any sort of profit that I have just kind of leak out the window. And so
Mm.
I keep telling myself, like my internal talk as I'm driving down the road is, you should have thought about that. You should have thought about this. And, ultimately, you probably could have fixed this. And right in that moment, I recognized and I said to myself, me talking to myself this way, it's probably the way that I'm going to talk to my team, or I know that I have talked to my team that way. So I'd love for you to talk more just about the power of self-talk and where it starts, because I think that's kind of the root of how you find gratitude.
Yeah. Well, that's a great deep question. And and for everybody it's different. In my personal life, um it's not for everybody, it's natural to have um negative self-talk. Everybody, I don't care who you are, there are negative thoughts that will pop in your head, and at that point it's a choice of whether you say, okay, that's my reality, or that's a thought that I don't believe, and I want to wash that out with positive thoughts and the right thoughts. And it's all how you look at a scenario, right? The old saying, you're either look at life half glass half full or glass half empty. It's reality. I could think about in my own career, in life. There are times where you'll work for leaders in your career that you look at them and you're like, man, like they're not a good leader. I could do their job. And you start going down that road and you start comparing yourself to others and or you start criticizing yourself for not being at a level, even say the leader is really good, or say the leader is like micromanaging you, and then you start like internalizing that to yourself. When you start doing that, you will reflect that to your team no matter how hard you try. And so you have to stay in a space of looking at things from a higher view, because a lot of times, you know, that negative thought will keep you short minded, right? And so your thoughts will be on short term conclusions rather than looking at the big picture and really being able to see hope in the future, right? Being thankful and having a thankful mind um, will not only reflect on your team, it makes you thankful for today, for yesterday, but it also gives you hope for the future. And that is critical when you think about it for your team. If you have a negative mindset and you're always looking at the wrong for yourself and you're internalizing that, you're going to do that to your team. And when you start doing that to your team, there's no hope for the future because your team you'll see that and you'll think to yourself, oh, you know, I've seen it in many leaders where they're like, oh, I just got to get rid of this person. They're so negative and and well, they weren't like that 4 or 5 months ago. What happened between then and now? And it's if you're going in and visiting them, if you're a store manager or you're a district manager and you're going in and visiting them, and you focus on all the things that are going wrong within that store or that space or whatever it is in their process that's broken, and you're pointing out the things they need to fix. Your intentions may be good, but if that's where your focus is, it creates a bigger problem. I'll give you an example. Right now, I have leaders that are helping me with another one of my stores that the manager is out. Right, they're on an LOA, and they're going in and helping, and they're stressed because they are now juggling 2 locations, so it's a lot of work. In my mind, I make it a point to constantly express my gratitude for what they're doing and talk to them about how I could not do this without them and that I'm extremely grateful for what they're doing. And then I point out specific things that they're doing that so that they know that their work is not going wasted. And then I also give them a glimpse of the future and what this is doing for them and what it's doing for our team as a whole and what critical part they're playing in that. So when I do that, I remember one conversation I had with this manager, and they said back to me, they said, you know, it's stressful and all that, but when you do that, when you say all these nice things, it just, it's not fair. Like you're making it much easier for me. And it's true. It's about mindset. It's about attitude. It's about always reflecting and being grateful in the moment because it gives you hope for the future and it gives your people hope for the future.
I love that. And you said two really key things that stuck with me. Number one is that we have a choice. Like, we have a choice to decide to continue to beat ourselves up or, to understand that, hey, we made a mistake and let's move on. Let's find, the positive in something we did. And it's interesting because, I know we're going to get to our best leadership book episode here where we'll do a countdown on our favorite leadership books. But one of my favorite books, just overall in life, is The Four Agreements. And what it talks about as human beings, we're the only species on Earth that judges ourselves more than once for making a mistake. The dog goes and messes up, they mess up and they move on. If a bear does something wrong, I'm sure they don't even think twice. Like they just continue to move on. But we have this judge in our head that continues to punish us. for doing this, the one thing. We get punished over and over again. And I love it because it's kind of freeing to think that it's a choice. And, I was really good at that when I first read that book. Like I was good at catching myself doing it and then, kind of moving on. But, you reminded me that, it is a choice. And I think everybody needs to think about that, and to not allow the judge in your head to judge yourself and punish yourself more than once when you make a mistake. And then flipping it to the other side with gratitude, you talked about genuine gratitude, and I fully agree. I think it starts with yourself. And one of the habits that we started as a family is we call it Thankful Thursdays. And so every night at the dinner table, we go around and each person shares one thing that they're thankful for from the week. And, we try to be genuine about it. It started off and it was all light and fluffy. I'm thankful for my life, or, I'm thankful for this food. And then it sort of evolved into more specifics and things about people. And you walk away from that feeling great. And so if you're one of those people that, wakes up and or is constantly beating yourself up, wake up in the morning and just think about two or three things that you're thankful for that day. And if you have to, write them down, but definitely think about them. And so that way you start that habit and that cycle of looking for those things that you're thankful for, and you'll start to see, that the world is different. And, as you were telling your story, I've seen you do it 100 times, so I knew exactly where you were going. But what immediately came to my head were those other leaders that you referenced that, sometimes are looking at the world or the glass half empty and, constantly finding things that are wrong. They would force gratitude and you
Mm.
feel it like, hey, appreciate you. Yeah. Thank you. And there's nothing behind it. And, one of the notes that I had was like truly identifying what people are passionate about
Yeah.
and what contribution they make to your team, your greater
Mhm.
team, and honing in on that so they understand it, because not everybody has a chance to see their superpower. They don't often look in the mirror and they might not know it's there. But gosh, when somebody would say, hey, I got a note last week from one of the directors I used to work with, and he sent me a picture of his notepad that he had that he was taking as he was going through a book. And the question said, write down someone you're thankful for and why. And he gave specific feedback. He's like, Justin is constantly looking for ways to improve, and he's always trying to help people around him. And I haven't worked with him in 4 years, and that completely made my day. And so
Mm.
just imagine the power that you
Yeah.
have in those moments where, you can share something specific with someone. And just like your example that you gave, that person's going to go grind that much harder because they know that you're behind them and that most importantly, you see it.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you said around just people that mess up and they put that behind them and they keep moving forward. I think what I think when I think about that, I think about the best athletes in the world. The goats of every type of sport. They all have that in common, right? Like they make a mistake, they throw an interception, they miss a shot, they they put that behind them and they move on, and that's part of what makes them a goat. And when I think about Michael Jordan, who is the GOAT, by the way, of the NBA, best basketball player of all time. And if you disagree, too bad. This is not your podcast. Um, uh, he said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been entrusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." Because he doesn't stop there. He keeps pressing on because he's got hope. And, he was somebody who was always thankful for where he was, and that sense of gratitude all the time, it creates patience for within yourself. You're more patient with yourself. You're more patient towards your team. You're more honest, and you show more grace. And an essential part of that grace comes from that humility that naturally happens when someone is grateful. If you're grateful for the position that you're in, regardless of if you if you're in a constant state of mind where you think, oh, I should be in a higher position than where I am. This sucks. If you're constantly thinking like that, you can't have gratitude. And when you don't have that, you're not going to show grace to others. And so you got to be grateful where you are and find the good of your moment that you're in, and that will give you hope for the future.
Think about the happiest people I know, and they're the ones that you were just describing. They're
Yeah,
grateful for whatever position they're in,
yeah,
and it's easy to get caught up and say, "Well, yeah, I'm at a higher position than they are. I make more money than they are. How could they be so happy with where they are? I wasn't that happy when I was in that position." But it's just the mindset difference that they look at it that way. Like I could be in a whole lot worse position, and unfortunately it usually takes something catastrophic or damaging happening to people to get them to wake up to see that. And so I'm glad that you called it out. And I think that that's something. If anybody's walking away from this saying, what do I start doing today, to help myself? It's just that, like, look around and be thankful and grateful for the things that you do have that are going right in your life, and make sure that you're sharing that with people too, because then you'll start to get into that habit yourself.
there's one thing I want to say too about it is, saying to yourself, well, things could be a lot worse. That is also not good. You don't want to go there, because what you're saying when you say that is you're saying you're not devaluing, um, like this whole mantra of the American way of, I have to have this amount of money in my bank account. I have to have, this kind of status in life, or this kind of position within my career. Um, when you say that things could be worse, what you're saying is that, well, my status is here, but at least I'm not down here. And what we're saying, what I'm saying is, get off of that pendulum, get off of that line that says I have to be somewhere in this line, because you will find you will not find satisfaction in life if you feel you have to fit within that status or that position, or that if that is where your happiness lies, you will never be happy. You
Is
will
that
never be happy.
because is that because you're comparing yourself to others because you need that contrast?
Yeah, well, it's the comparison factor. It's also the factor of it's the mindset of, you have, in order for you to be happy, you have to have XYZ. And if that is your goal in your career, equates to you being happy, you know what I mean? Like, if you feel, okay, if I achieve my goal, then I will achieve true happiness. That's false. You have to be happy and content where you are, in the status that you are right now, in wherever you are in life. You have to be grateful and happy. And that means that no matter what else you gain in the future, or what else you lose, it doesn't matter, because you live in this state of happiness and this state of gratefulness. And that's different, right? That's a different mindset. It means you're not playing the game of this. I have to achieve this. I have to, in order to be happy and content, I have to get to this place in life, and I have to get to this level of leadership. And it's all a false. Like, I remember there was a time where I was thinking to myself, man, I wish things were a lot simpler. Sometimes I just wish I was a farmer, or just just doing even mindless work, like, and just being content with that. And, it just really goes back to, you just got to be content where you are. You got to be content with what you have around you. And in order to be content, you have to find reasons to be thankful for where you are in the moment. And to do that means that no matter what you add, it doesn't matter because you already are grateful. You already are thankful. And nothing that it can be added will add to that because you're already there. And I could think in my own life, I growing in my career, it's like, well, if I get to a DM, that I'll arrive, I'll be happy. All it did was just create more problems. All it did was more money. More money does create more problems. More responsibility, it creates more stresses. And when I get to this house, if I can get a house with 5 bedroom and 4,000 square feet, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be thankful. No, you get there, and I've gotten there, and I think to myself, well, that didn't work. That didn't bring me happiness and joy, and
Yeah.
I don't
Now you
feel
now you
any
just
more
have bigger
thankful.
bills and you got to work harder.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's about being thankful and content where you are and not playing that game. The trap. And for those of you that are in the or starting in the corporate world or in the corporate world, the trap of the corporate world is feeling like you got to play this game of status because everybody else is doing it. Everybody around you, most of the people in the corporate world are playing this game of they feel, oh, if I can just get to this position, if I can just get to this role, if I can just make this amount of money, then I'll be happy and that happiness and thankfulness go together, right? Being thankful in where you are will bring you happiness and you will ooze that happiness to your people. And that's where joy comes in because there's a difference between being happy and having joy. Joy is a choice. Happiness is an emotion or a feeling that you have based on external factors. Joy is something that you reflect based on a choice that you make in your mind of being thankful in the moment. You see what I'm saying? It's just totally different. And so it is a mind process, right? And it's a shift in mindset, and it's kind of going against the grain. It's like a fish going against the current, and all the other fish are going with the current, and you're trying to swim against it. And that's really what it comes down to. You have to swim against that current because the moment you stop swimming is the moment that you just fall in line with everybody else.
Yeah. And I think today, and I don't want to go down a political path or anything, but just
Do it.
societal, no, just, societal, like you should take a step back and look at, what we're doing and how we're behaving today versus 15, 20 years ago. And our attention spans are shorter. We have the best access to information that we've ever had. And what comes along with that access to information is we're seeing all of these things that we were never able to see before. So,
Mhm.
somebody posting a video about someone getting shot in the street, you may never have been exposed to that if you had lived in Florida and that happened in Chicago. That would that would have never made its way to you. But today, you have it every day when you pop open and wake up. And so your point around our attention and fixating on those little things and fixating on what everybody else is doing on top of, the negative things that we see other people out there living these lives that we all of a sudden say, well, that's where I should be. I should be doing the same thing. And I catch myself doing that all the time. So the point you made at the end, again, going against the grain, that's just it. Because what we've sacrificed is we've sacrificed the one-on-one time with the people that are there right next to us. And
Mhm.
that, I think, is where we find the happiness, the reaction, the emotion. Because
Mhm.
it hit me. We took the kids to Disney,
Mhm.
and we spent the week at Disney. By the way, we didn't go into a single park. We just went and walked around as a family, and I felt it. Like I felt it in
Mhm.
those moments where I'm like, gosh, this feels great. Like just being here
Mhm.
with them and laughing and walking around. And, it's rare because we're all off in our own worlds, like doing our own things, and we don't pause to be together with each other. And so I think there's societal pressure, is what I'm trying to say, that's also driving some of that, and that's even more of a reason for us to be aware of it.
Yeah. And just with something you said, you talked about, you know, all, you wake up in the morning and you have these little short clips and videos of things that are going on all over. And you have, and I'm not trying to get philosophical here or psychological, but there's only um, two things or two body parts that absorbs information. If we think of ourselves as like computers, right? That the cables that go to our soul are our eyes and our ears, and what we watch and what we listen to will ultimately feed into who we are and how we react to things. And so, when you think about media and politics and all that, it all, what you think of social media and stuff like that too, is you see these little short video clips and all this stuff, and all that stuff, you start absorbing it and it starts to become part of you. You don't even know it, because you're pulling it in, you're pulling it into yourself. And whenever you pull into yourself, it festers in here, and then it starts to create a narrative inside your head. And then you start to push that out to yourself, to others, to your team. And so it's so important to guard what comes in through your eyes and your ears, because it definitely affects you now and for the future, and you don't even know it.
Yeah, I love it, because that's the other thing you talk about in the four agreements, is just they call it emotional poison, but you're taking it in everywhere, and it is like poison
Yeah.
if you choose
Hmm.
to look and follow those things. Okay, all right, so we're almost there. I figured where we could end is put you on the spot. Give me, give me some gratitude. Give me something that you're grateful for, like genuinely in your
Mm.
life.
Yeah. I'm the first thing that comes to mind is my kids, my wife and my kids, my family. Extremely grateful, like there's not a day that goes by that I don't look at my kids and think, man, I'm so blessed. Like, I'm so lucky to have these kids. And I usually think when I think gratefulness too, and this is another way to be thankful. Usually, when you think of thankful, you realize that the moments that you have right now are limited, right? Like, they won't happen again. These moments you can't get back. And when you think that way, you become more grateful, right? I think about, my dad, my parents, and I think about the age that they are right now. And then I think about, like, they probably, look at me and they still see a kid, right? They still see, that's my son, you know, and I don't get to see my parents as often. And so I think about my kids and I think about where they are right now, and I get to see them every day, and I get to look at them and talk to them and hug them. I won't have that forever, And so when you think about it that way, it makes you grateful and thankful. And so that's another way. That's a way you can reproduce thankfulness, is think about the moment that you're in right now, appreciate the moment that you're in right now, because you'll never have that again. You'll never get that again. I've so often in life, people think about memories from the past, right? And reminisce. There's tons of like Instagram things around and Facebook things around, like 80s kids and 90s kids. And, they pull out all these little toys and different stuff from those times. Really, those grown adults like us from the 80s we're from the 80s and 90s, it's not that we miss those toys or those things that we did back then. It's that we miss those moments, because when we were kids, we weren't grateful for them in the moment. We were more like just doing it and living it. And now we look back and say, man, those times were so good. Those were some great times and great moments. And so I try to live in gratitude today by looking at my kids and all that and thinking about, man, my future self is going to miss these moments, and I'm grateful to be able to have these moments right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. You remind me of I went to a conference and one of the speakers, Jesse Itzler, he talked about this relationship with time. And what was sobering to me, think about this. The average adult male lives to 78. I'm
Mm,
46. I have 32 summers left. That's it. Like I have 32 summers left in my life, and then clock's probably out. My mom's 67. I have maybe 11 more summers left with her, 12 more summers left with her. And so how do you spend that time
mm,
effectively? And I think that's perfect because that's gratitude. Like you're
mhm,
forced to pause and be in the moment. And I'm super thankful to be in the position I'm in. I am making the least amount of money I've made in probably 20 years right now, and I'm happier than I've been in 25 years,
mm,
maybe. And
mhm,
it's because I have more of those moments. I get to
mhm,
come home and spend time with my kids that I was never able to before. I was always gone for 12, 13 hours a day, and I would come home and see them for 45 minutes or an hour before they went to bed. And now I can spend time with them here because I have the flexibility. Yes, I have a lot going on, but I have the flexibility to adjust my schedule around when they're here. And
mm.
I often will just pause, like the thing that just happened, and it makes me feel so good when my youngest says, "Daddy, come here," and he wants to show me something he learned, and it almost just melts me every single time. Where he's like, "Look, I just figured this out." And it's so special. So kids
Yeah.
and super grateful for my wife. We run two businesses, and I probably run about 25% of those two businesses, and she does the other 75%. And I'm just so thankful for her because she affords us to be able to live like this. And I think you're spot on. That's probably where we should end it, is that relationship with time will
Mm,
definitely sober you up for whatever drunkenness you have
yeah.
against being grateful. It definitely will sober you up and make you be grateful.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for episode nueve. Thank you again. I think this one was special. I think this is such a great conversation. We're gonna
Yeah.
come back one more time before the year wraps up. And maybe do like a year in review, maybe have our books. I don't know. Let
Yeah.
us know in the comments what you'd like to see for that final episode. But I am also grateful for each and every one of you for taking a little bit of time out and listening to us blab our mouths for 30 minutes, at a clip. I
Yeah.
mean, we love doing it. And honestly,
Mhm.
if we didn't post these and we just had these conversations like we were doing it, we'd be happy. But it makes me feel, fulfilled in that, this makes it to people and that they actually get things out of it. So super grateful for them and you.
Yeah. 100%. Grateful for you as well.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you
All right.
soon.
Take care, everybody.